All right, and welcome everyone to the Ginette Biro podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am really looking forward to diving into the February energy update. It is very interesting, and I gotta say, part of this was because Spirit took me on this really amazing journey to the Pleiades star system. Now, some of you might be like, what? I would imagine most of you, if you've been listening to my show for a while, you're familiar with the Pleiades star system. It is a cluster of stars, sometimes called the Seven Sisters. There's 7 main stars that make up the Pleiadian or the Pleiades. And this is where Pleiadians come from, which are higher light beings of consciousness that are helping humanity grow and ascend. So, when I talk about my different guides, I have guides of all kinds. Some are ascended masters, some, like the 3 guides of the light, are light consciousness. There are Pleiadians, there are Sirians, there are other humans that have been on this planet that know things and choose to come through and help. There's many different ones. So this was a journey specifically to there. They woke me up one night. Actually, it was less woke me up. They wouldn't let me sleep one night. And so I had to come downstairs, tune into them. And I was taken to, in a vision state, I was taken to the Pleiades star cluster. And I got to communicate with the consciousness of the Pleiades. So when I say that, it's kind of like me saying I'm communicating with Mother Earth, with Gaia, the frequency, or I'm communicating with the energy of the sun, the solar consciousness. So the same sort of thing goes with the Pleiades. Now, there was many things they shared, but the specific pieces for this purpose and this podcast is that throughout the month of Aquarius, there is going to be a significant amount of higher consciousness being poured onto our planet. So the way they showed it to me was these big containers full of rainbow light. It looked like they were pouring out rainbows into the cosmos so that it could kind of like sprinkle down or rain down on the planet. So this is a really, really beautiful thing. Now, the key to this, though, they said, to really take in this higher consciousness, we have to really align with self. We have to measure everything that we feel, see, hear with the current of self. And we've talked a lot about that, know thyself, get to know yourself, all of that. But they were saying this is a specific way to register what's coming in for you. So it's kind of like, say you read something on the news and you hear a certain story and it makes you feel a certain way and you're kind of like, I don't know what I think about that. Then it's like, tune into the energy of self and open up that energy of self to this higher frequency that is being poured down on the planet. You can think about it. You can just visualize it. And when you do that, you will open up to that consciousness. And when that merges with you, you will have greater capacity to suss out whether what you are seeing or feeling resonates as a truth for you or not. So basically, this pouring of this rainbow frequency is like an amplification of discernment, an amplification of your ability to assume, or not assume, that's not the word I want, your ability to choose what is real for you. Okay, so with this increase of consciousness, that's the way that it's going to affect the individual. Now, on a collective level, this increase of consciousness is also going to cause an increase of radical rebellion. This rebellion-like energy coming through to try and sort of oppose that, because every time we have one energy come in, there is an equal opposite, right? And so they're giving us this heads up that through February, we may see more of an increase in this rebellion-like nature. And in some cases, that's a good thing. In some cases, not so much. But what it's doing is it's asking you, what are you aligning your frequency with and why? And know that for you, not for anybody else, but know that for you. So again, this whole purpose they're saying is to increase our inner guidance systems. That is what they want, because that is what helps us really shift our frequency, is knowing our inner guidance systems, how it works. So again, if you're feeling triggered by certain things or things you thought you'd already dealt with are coming up again, it's simply so that you can take that now and measure it against your own inner guidance system. That's the whole reason. So it's a good thing. It's coming up for a good reason. It doesn't have to come up to create a huge issue, turmoil, simply coming up for you to measure it, see where it fits, and move forward. Okay. Now they said that this energy coming in is going to require a bit of a balancing act on our parts. So for some people, we might want to just totally dive into that and live in that higher energy the whole time. And they're saying that's not going to benefit the human self, right? And we are very much human as much as we are spiritual beings, but we have to balance the two. So they're saying be careful not to get pulled too far over that you detach or disconnect from the human self. Just as for those of you that end up feeling very triggered by it, they're saying don't fall so far into the triggering. Come back to self, come back to the spiritual side, come back to the lighter side. It's simply about a balancing act. The whole month is going to be this balancing act, and you're going to kind of, they're saying if you check in with it every day, you kind of check in, see where you're at, see what comes up, then it's like you're keeping tabs on it, and nothing is going to go like whoom, way out of balance, right? It'll come back into balance if you kind of just stay on top of it, check in with it, right? So that's one of the things. So they're saying make sure you balance it, not neglecting one side or the other, so that your energy moving through everything stays balanced. Now they said also within this rebellious type energy, be cautious of false assumptions made by others and self. So you may find that you quickly assume you know something about something, but allow potential openings for how you may have falsely perceived something. Allow a possibility for shift and change within self, because they're saying you may notice that some of the decisions you make are quick decisions based on old programming, which may not align with this new frequency. So they're saying just be thoughtful of where something may be a false assumption that may require you to have just an extra look at it. Bring it back on the table one more time, check it out, okay? As much as we will see more false assumptions in things that happen outside of us, whether that be media, community, there will be more false assumptions that are made this month because of this rebellious like energy. That's what it's going to bring to the surface. So just notice it. And then the neat thing is when we have this kind of heads up about these sorts of things, we can really pay attention to what comes out and what we see around us, and we can identify it. And that's a really cool thing, because then we become more of the observer. And when we step into that role of the observer, we have more ability to choose then how we want to interact with that energy and what we want to do. And that gives us such a position of personal power. We don't have to get wrapped up in stuff if we don't want to. So notice where false assumptions are coming within self, just minor adjustments, but the greater one is the false assumptions we see coming up because of that rebellious energy, okay? Now they're also saying that with this energy, some may find it really beautiful and really awakening and peaceful, exhilarating, energizing. Some may find it a bit of a bumpy ride. If you find within your balancing act, you get knocked into the bumpy ride, they said, don't be afraid to make the change. Once you recognize you're caught in a bumpy ride, make the change, step back into that observer, make the change to get back to where you are or where you want to be. Make that change. Don't be afraid to make the change. Again, that's where that false assumption thing comes in. So if you catch yourself on a bumpy ride, let go of your resistance, flow back into the observer mode and see where you can shift it. Because again, the emphasis they're bringing me over and over still is it's not as hard as we think. And even the amount of my explaining makes it seem like a bigger deal than it is, but it's not. They're coming in now because we have, number one, asked for help. Number two, we are more open-minded to receiving the help. And so because of this, they're coming in with this more conscious help through language, right? Through what I'm sharing, what other people are sharing. And so they're like, it's not as complicated as how we're having to lay it out to explain it. It's simply giving you the power of choice. Once you recognize that, you know which things to look out for, you can move through with more ease and grace. Makes it much more peaceful. And so then the other thing they wanted to talk about was the divine timing behind many of the things that are to unfold this year. There's a divine timing. And so this I thought was really interesting too, was how they were saying that there is a significant plan put in place with the collective of humanity and with the higher cosmic play of where our world is growing and going to. Okay, how we are evolving, that's a better way to put it. There is a divine plan put in place. Just like we have a destiny, it's like we have chosen energetically this collective destiny of moving forward and ascending. Now, within that, every human has all these little abilities to kind of change the speed at which we move up that trajectory, but they're saying trust that there is a general outline that is set, that is put in place, that because of the level of consciousness we all have on this planet, the amount that we have been willing to open up, to discuss, to talk about, to look at, because of that, they can continue to bring in more specificity in their understandings and really help us move through this. So they're saying trust that we will come to you at the right time to bring information, but also trust in your inner guidance. And that's why they're coming back to, again, the original point of this consciousness coming down and to measure self within the mix of that consciousness. Listen to your inner guidance. Listen to how it's morphing and changing, growing. Listen to where you can adjust things. Listen to what no longer applies because it did before. It doesn't mean it has to now. That's the part that you can do the most with, that really helps humanity. If each and every person really listened to their inner guidance system with peace and compassion for theirs and also for others, we would be moving a lot faster. So they're saying stay true to that, as well as trust that there is this divine plan. There is an energy put in place, set in motion. I have been shown over and over again that it is moving forward. We are not stalled in 2022. 2022 is not about being stalled, being held back. It's about forward momentum, movement, manifestation, creation. All of that stuff is divinely aligned for this time right now to shift and move out of current circumstances. So trust that. And within that, they're saying try not to get too caught up in they're calling it drama media, is what they're saying in my mind. They're saying don't get caught up in the drama media. When I was asking them to explain that just a little bit better, they're saying the energy that is amplified around stories. So check the energy of a story. The truth may be in the story, or whether it be a story from somebody, a story you read, story you hear, there may be truth in it, but check the energy of it, because they're saying the amount that energy can sway the way we perceive a story is more significant than we're realizing. So check the energy of it. And then they're also saying within that stepping back and that observer mode, they're saying really remember to ground your energy back into earth. Earth is really going to be your solidified source of steadiness. It's going to be like this tether that can hold us all really grounded. Always keep trying to sustain that connection with Mother Earth, whether it be through actual grounding meditations, whether it be through walking in nature, admiring nature, taking time to be still and observing your connection to all things nature. There's many ways you can do it, but they're saying keep that too, because that'll keep you really tethered on earth while you expand your consciousness into the cosmos more, and while they bring through more information, we become this channeled pathway of consciousness. And so we can each do our part by doing that, as well as we're trying to sustain this balancing act, the more we ground our energy into earth, the more we can kind of find that space of mind, space of energy to move through the questionings that we have as they come up. It's just this steady, stable force that we have that we don't always remember to connect into. So they're saying use the beautiful energy of your planet. It is there to support us. So I love that. I think this is just fantastic. I love the visual that I have again of these beautiful containers that are being poured into the cosmos. Like if you guys could picture the most twinkling, beautiful, almost hologram-like energy of rainbow color pouring out of these beautiful containers into the cosmos. It's like one of the most significant influxes of energy I've seen from the higher realms in a long time. And it supports everything they've been saying about 2022, about it being a manifestation year, moving forward, all of that. It's like they are right on the heels, bringing it in. And what's interesting too is Aquarius is known as the water bearer, right? And so often when you look at Aquarius or the symbol of it, you see this person pouring in water out of these containers. And so I love that they're using that symbolism, but what's coming out of those containers is rainbow light consciousness, higher consciousness that we're used to, which we can utilize, we can tap into. Now that the information has been shared to your ears and you can visualize it, you're tapped in. It's as simple as that. Knowledge is power. So that's why I was so excited to share this update with you guys for February. It feels very positive to me. Very, very positive. In a nutshell, it seems like if you were to say to a kid going to school, don't get caught up with the bullies on the playground fighting back and forth. You do you. You find your own fun. Create something great with your friends that make you feel good, and let the bullies fight it out themselves. That's sort of the energy. It's like choose where you want to be and how you want to be, and here's how you can do it. So I hope that helps you guys. I hope it inspires your week, your new month. I definitely feel inspired. And if you're looking to deepen your journey into expanding consciousness, do check out avalonspirit.com, as well as there's, excuse me, tons of information on our Facebook group, Avalon Spirit. Definitely check us out there if you haven't. I'm on there every day sharing stuff. As well, on my YouTube page, I have some really fun videos called Making Sense of Life, where there are over, I believe, 60 of them now, of different questions of like, how do mediums see dead people? What do ghosts like to do on the other side? What is sacred space? Any kinds of questions. There's a ton on there. If you're curious and you just want to like eat up some info, check that out on my YouTube page. Ginette Biro Medium is what it's called. And lastly, if you're wanting more insights like this, but with a beautiful group of ladies, check out Avalon Spirit Avalon Spirit YouTube page for Spirit Coffee Talk, where myself, Elise Catherine, and Lisa Richmond, we join together once a week and we chat about whatever's going on. So check that out as well. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next week.